too many other people, so I might just spend a little bit.
Okay. Well, the time now is 10 minutes past 9, and it's Saturday, the 7th of January, 2020. Happy New Year, everyone. And funny enough, it's my wife's birthday as well. So over to you.
Okay, thanks, Andy. I was thinking there might have been people with questions, but I think it's answered all their questions in the videos I've been making off cue videos to explain things. So I think they're getting the picture. A lot of people are getting the picture of what this is and where we're at the moment. No more court hearings. Finished. No more. I'm relieved of it now, so I can rest a bit better than before. It took a whole week of every night and day to put one court hearing together. Took a lot of time and typing and rearranging and all of that. So that's all gone now. We don't need to do that. We've got enough criminals to deal with them and pick them off one by one. So some people have been asking me questions, this and that, and they said, when is Jacinda getting arrested? It's not that easy to just say it, because it's taking a lot of time to get John Key sorted out way back to arrest him. So all I did was stack them up, stacked all the cases up, the policewoman and all of that, for the day when we can just drop them off one by one. And once we get over the first one, this is the first test against a crown with a Moai crown versus a British crown is on our side, hopefully, if they're on our side, versus the New Zealand private crown. Okay, so that's the test we're at right now to see what happens with Jacinda Ardern and what we're saying about her in the court and what result we should get out of this next step of liquidating properties and converting land over from their titles in that corporation, private corporations titles of land, Australia, Torrens system, and then put it back, reverse it back into the native title and put it back under British, complete one title to the whole country. And the idea was to liquidate the government's business in one shot with this one page document there, with everything to see what they're going to come up with against us and the British as partners. And what I've done here is put 11 of us, real humans, together in a contract to that document, to the Constitution here and the British Constitution, to bring the contract with the Admiralty Court, which is what we're doing, and the Commercial Court for contracts of the debt instruments. The Admiralty for the lien, debt, mortgage, lien over the criminal, or who you got as criminal, guilty until proven innocent. So they're all guilty. Everybody that's got their photos in there are all guilty until they can step up in the court and get their guilt off. What we're saying. So that's it's past the time to go into it. It's all disclosed. That's why I'm going to disclose my letters to the British, and nothing's going to be hidden away, so that everybody can see the letters I'm writing to the British Navy board, and the justice system. And so now that we've got all those documents gone to 11 of us, so 11 of us are looking at the same one page, and that's hooked in with the two constitutions, the British Constitution and our Constitution, against this Parliament's Constitution, our 1986 Constitution, and their Parliament sovereignty. So we've got to get above the parliamentary sovereignty with their unconstitutional legislation under War Powers Act. There's no war, because why are they using a War Powers Act of emergency when there's no emergency here now, just for their jab. And so they're not worrying about it anymore, but they're going to bring it back in February with the United Nations army of the Pope's army, 193 armies, and they're going to storm this place out. And it's from June to August, from February to August, anywhere in between there, once they get their legislation passed, all of the 26 or so legislations passed through Parliament, forced through without the public, and that's why they've got that Emergency Powers Act of our Admiralty court-martial law that we're using on them, that flags power, and we've got it legal in our court, is up to Aylett, the debt collector, ex-Scotland Yard detective, to determine with his own conscience if it looks legal enough to be accepted as a court order in his profession under his boss's rules in the government here. So really he's there with a government's crown corporation, out nothing to do with us, corporation's license to seize property or to investigate property for any fraud that's going on. And so I haven't got no answer from him or phone call. It's just gone blank. With answer phone is making me uneasy with no response and being stood up. So I'm going straight into him to pull him into contract tomorrow. That I've put the contract on Facebook and the website, so everybody can see what our contract looks like in my own handwriting, to see whether he's going to honour it, or if he wants to alter it. If he doesn't agree with it, then I'll change it to suit himself. But you can read the contract itself. I'll read it out afterwards when we go onto the page. And that's about all I want to do, is what is Aylett going to do about the court order? He hasn't said no yet. He hasn't told me no yet. He hasn't written to me or confirmed that he's not going to go with it. He's still holding out. So maybe he's looking in further. It shouldn't take an expert like him that's been at for years, since 2012, on what I've been doing all along with him. And there's no question about paying him out of the pound note. From when he says yes, he's going to get paid. When he says yes, he'll do the contract and the investigation of everything I'm doing here for us, the executive, and all the native-born people on the land in New Zealand. Then it's his conscience that's going to get the better of him. It's either Jacinda, his boss, or his own home country, Britain or England, as being one or the other. So that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to say what next. What anybody's got any ideas about that? But the documents are enough. We've got enough documents and enough law behind us. It's just him applying the law, the British law, and our contract with those two flags together, and with him taking the risk on his own boss, the Jacinda's government, and not losing his license. But we still can do it on our own without him, with another contractor that can do it outside of their system, because it failed us. It failed me on Cook Street, and it's failing us now with that system of law. It won't listen to us. So we rule on it. We rule because it didn't work for me in their court. And when they arrested me, they wouldn't let me in their court. They just said, no, your court hearing's the next day. And then they ruled without me and said, oh, you're lucky to get off. I said, hang on, I want my court hearing. I want my court hearing. They said, no, it's over. Be lucky you got off. I still haven't finished with them on Cook Street and all those people. They're going in this court because that court failed. So there we go, Andy. We'll just pull up that
That reminds
um,
me of exactly what I've been saying all along. Like, it's like what's going
yeah,
on in this world is you come back home, yeah. There's a burglar in your house. He's just turned your house upside down, got all your valuables. He's coming out the front door, and you come back and you stop him, you catch him out, right? And he puts the stuff
yeah,
and he walks away, and that's it.
mm,
Can't get him done. They say, no, that's it. You caught me, fair cop. Okay, go away. And that's what I mean. It's the same
yeah,
with you. They say, no, okay, well, and be lucky you got away. Be lucky you caught me. That's what they're saying. Be lucky you caught me, because if I'd have gone down the road, yeah, you wouldn't have had your stuff. But you caught me
yeah,
coming out your house. But it don't matter. Clean your own house. I've smashed it to pieces looking for your jewellery, but you can fix that. And they don't get nothing. Nothing ever happens to them. And that's the point. So
yeah.
which
So that's
page do you want to go on?
yeah.
First,
I'll read it, pull it up, pull that page, 3 pages up,
want the 3 page
and
one?
yeah, that's really all I wanted to do is just read out what order, what contract I had with him back when he asked me to get a court order. So that one there, I'll read off my document because it's clearer. Hang on, I'll just start from the top. Native people of New Zealand Declaration of War, Emergency Powers Defence Act, 1931 UK. So we're using that War Powers Act with our flag against the Crown Sovereign of New Zealand Corporate Company. Threat of treason, economic terrorism, fraud and deception, conspiracy to commit unlawful acts, murder, kidnapping, theft, intimidation, crimes against humanity, crimes against the environment, enslavement, wrongful arrest and conviction, unlawful seizure of lands and possession, TPPA threat on our Pacific state seabed titles, Queen Elizabeth II conflict of third party interests, illegal Emergency Powers Act for bioweapon CVG, you know what that is, not war. So they're using a War Powers Act for their own business interests and jabbing people. Illegal New Zealand EU Constitution and foreign corporation UN government takeover. So these illegal, unconstitutional government forced legislation and acts for self-interest, nothing to do with us, cited as from 0001 hours on the 26th day of June 2002. These were put to the government back then when I was in the Maori government, did this. Our paramount chiefs of Aotearoa New Zealand and the Pacific Islands Maori Crown Native Government, sovereign nation state, was at war with New Zealand Crown corporations, Prime Minister and Governor General. Cited, the unconstitutional New Zealand colonial government committed these criminal acts by all the judicial enforcement agencies thereof, a direct threat upon our Maori Crown, federal state, British dual nation, state government, commercial native landowners, trading bank flag, sovereign authority, financial, banking, investment, security, and economic land development interests for their own sovereign of New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's private corporation, own foreign private bank, security of investment, World Economic Forum, EU, UN, American interests, prosecuted, convicted, and charged in this native magistrate King's Bench Court, inherent jurisdiction and legal authority 100 trillion Maori Crown pounds on Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Governor General Cynthia Kiro, with arrest warrants also. Warrant to seize the land, property, bank investment, bank ownership business of those four individual named fraud criminals awarded to Graham Aylett, Director of Aylett Investigations Limited Debt Recovery Business, and private investigators under the commercial contract with the recipients of this court order today, issued to all individual parties locked together in this binding on the New Zealand Crown, Maori Crown, and British Crown Business corporation's contract, named here, locked together in this pact agreement with the British Crown Corporation's agents in this 11 contract, 11 of us here. So please sign opposite each of your names or represent on behalf of 3 British Crown Royal Navy High Court Judge, Graham Aylett, he's got a sign there, and me, Blair, Kate, our executive, Holly Mason, Charlene Amine, Andrew Devine for England, UK, Lord Burnett for UK, Ben Wallace for UK, Ben Key, UK, and Tony Redican, UK. So we've got this together and presented to all these people, and to Graham Aylett, Director of Aylett Investigations Limited Company. This is a contract agreement, and I request that you sign as a commitment to the British Crown Government and our native court organisation and cooperative partnership business with our legitimate legal partners with the Government of Britain, England, UK. So we have your confidence with us as an 11-member business organisation, as it states in the 1835 News and UK British constitutions, both binding each crown together against the New Zealand Crown, and you are an ex-British man. If you fail to respond by 4 p.m. Wednesday, the 11th of January 2023, we will know you are not with us in your country, England, and are with Jacinda Ardern against your home country and suffer the same fate as a traitor with a pound note on your head as a consequence of supporting a UN, EU, US, America takeover of New Zealand next month. As I told you, it's a matter of life and death that is now resting on your head. The whole world is watching what you do here, and we have this on tonight's court hearing, tonight, like now, and again on Wednesday, 11th of January 2023, final decisions before the government rams its legislation through to law. So that's what they're doing, ramming law through at the moment. John Manoa, President of the Confederation of Chiefs and author of the documents as my own competent witness, as a native legal advocate, land assessor, historian, sovereign, head lease land owner. So I'm a land owner with just as much as every other native of the land as a land owner that we're claiming in this court to be. So there's the next page is contract between John Manoa and Graham Aylett as at Friday, 6th of December 2019, the original, this is the original contract here. I've just got to blow it up and read it. This is what I'm saying to him for Cook Street, for seizing Cook Street. And he said before that he's got all the documents for, and this is back in 2019 when he asked me to get a court order. I said, okay, I'll work on it. It's taken right up to now to work on a court order to make sure we've got a whole truckload of court hearings to back up what I'm saying here. So the original native surname, landowners, chief renter, that's what you call it in legal terms, landlord in a commercial contract with me and Paramount Chiefs as lien levy against Doug Rickard Bell, Brent and Simon Roundtree. Simon Brent Roundtree and what's his name? James Pierce Brown. That's what it's supposed to be, debtors. So their instructions. 1, I instruct you, this is to Graham Aylett, to put James Pierce Brown and Simon Brent Roundtree into receivership and to seize all assets, businesses and staff under new management for the creditors Maui Crown Kingdom for Trust, private company, and Ngā Atua Ewa Aotea Limited, parent company, public company that belongs to all the shareholders who will be jumping into here to claim their share in what we recover in this country from after that Cook Street. That's the land element, and then you got the human element on top of it as well. So the land value and the human value. 2, I wish you to get an inventory of all the business, private trust, and public share businesses evaluated, seized to defray the cost of debts owed. 4, well, where's 3? That's 4 now. Well, supposed to be 3 there. The staff of 77 Cook Street are to remain under new management and the 2 owners arrested for fraud and corruption of the legal system. 5. The tenants on the land block complex are to have new tenancy agreements long term, while the new high rise building is under construction. So I've got all those plans. Six, I would like you to for ongoing business for others who have tampered with my private contract to be charged. 7, to get the keys to the office of City Works Depot Limited Company on 77 Cook Street so that I can get an bank overdraft I set up in 2015 with the ANZ Bank. 8, organise a 6 businesses and private trusts set up to try to keep me out from claiming their estates' lands. Well, they've got 17 businesses now from since then, since 2015. 9, hold the 2 landowners and their conveyance lawyers to account for Don Grant. He's the Land Survey General from Australia and took over Lynn's Land Information and defrauded Cook Street and bodged up the original title on the land to get rid of all the investors' $300 million disappeared with him. And he's up for fraud. That fellow that ran Lynn's and all the land titles in this country. That's as bad as it goes. Land transfer forged certificates on the land blocks. 10, call for those who interfered with my land claim to be arrested. This includes ex-Prime Minister John Key, Panama Papers, involving mortgage fraud. I see he's got a helicopter now. He'll lose that lot and his house in Australia. 11, arrange an overdraft facility against the property title once it is transferred in Lynn's. Arrange the property title transfer documents with me too. 12, arrange for security of the property while in transit of the old management to the new management with Aylett Investigation Partnership. So I'm putting him in partners with me. And that's a good thing for him and his business. Will rocket right up. Arrange potential fraud debt recovery business for and on behalf of my Crown King William IV Trust, private corporation business, UK, New Zealand. Well, it's public now. I've made the thing, opened it up to public from private. Arrange court 14. Arrange court orders from the High Court as a last resort. So I'm not going to the High Court, but to use our unrebutted evidence from the private native King's Bench court orders. 15. To make a breakdown of costs so that I can alert our British membership to pay your bill. We do have funds available right now, ready to go. 16. To alert police of our intent to proceed with the land seizure order. New Zealand police had no evidence standing against me in 77 Cook Street land. 17. Take the same legal action against those I name in other fraud cases similar to this case as and when required in ongoing business to pay you. And then 18, represent me and our trust organisation in Britain, UK and Australia, currently in a binding contract for you to administer business with us. 19, there is a mass amount of fraud, corruption in this country, and it is a big business for you and our organisation to start up for the long term. 20, please invoice Moi Crown King William IV Trust on behalf of the Kingdom of God on Earth Trust Australia, the Benevolent Society Trust UK. I joined that Benevolent Trust as well. So this agreement we make today to contract this work schedule. John Horny Kakiwano, Graham Aylett. So he's not signing until he's sorted out with us what he's going to do, which way is he going to go. So there's our seals there, Moai and the chief Te Waikato Wharehere the Manukau and Hongi Hika and King George IV on that left seal. So those are real seals that I put together. And the Moai is a real seal for the water in the whole world. That one, that's why it's got a water board. It's got a water board for the tidal turbine to take all the energy and its own jurisdiction over what we can do in this whole world with that flag with the four corners. So that's all, Andy, that. And then we just go to the email that I sent to Graham Aylett, one of those emails I sent to you, and the letter I sent to you fellows, and those um, uh, um, Royal Navy, and also to the judge, the Chief Justice of Wales in England, High Court of Royal Courts of Justice. So I'll just go back to you and to see if you got that email. The other one to Graham Aylett. It was dated in when was dated? 2019. December 2009. Did you get it? 2019. It's just a short one. Never mind if you haven't got it, because I want to get into discussions afterwards. But I just wanted to show people that we are talking to each other in emails. And the last email I sent them, I don't want to read it because it's a bit long, that one. But the other first one in 2019 is a short one. That one there. Yeah. What does it say? I haven't got my site up. What can you read what it says? I've got to go into my email to see.
So it says, Dear Graham, here is a signed agreement between me and you. Please send me a breakdown of costs so we can pay you. Sincerely, John Winella.
Oh, that's all. What date was that? That's 2019.
Yeah, Friday the 6th of December 2019 at 10:40.
So that was that email, and the other one was on the 6th of January to all concerned of urgent matters. Here is a one-page legal document instrument. That was the last one I did to you, and that's the one they all got. Everybody got. The 11 of us got. To all concerned of urgency matters, here is a one-page legal document instrument for you to see clearly that we are in your British partners in a commercial trading bank corporation flag of King William IV, 1835 Constitution of New Zealand jurisdiction with your 1689 Constitution locked to our New Zealand Constitution against the New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern 1986 Constitution and pending threat of our over our country illegal unconstitutionally against you and the British Royal Board and Westminster House of Lords and Royal Courts of Justice, Ben Wallace. We have serious complaints here about the conduct of the rogue government, legislation forced through Parliament when there is no emergency war here. We are waiting for your response to our plea to dissolve this government and Parliament and seize the country before they illegally seize it from us as the native sovereign-born people of the land, as one people with Britain, UK protectorate that is coded from 1 to 40 in our New Zealand 1835 Constitution words and numbers, clearly identified in red and black words are the corrupt government of New Zealand and Australia missionaries tampering with your British government press documents. Our other complaint of counterfeit whakaputanga flag and alteration of the original native title, land titles to Maori land titles and we want you to seize back all the titles into British native land titles. Thank you. I'll await your response with our Confederation of Chiefs of New Zealand Executive and Committee Organisation Native Land Head Lease Owners. Sincerely, me. Okay, so that's yesterday, just next Friday. And so that's the latest that we haven't got a reply back to it from Aylett yet. We're still waiting for him to reply to us. And so that's all I wanted to do, Andy. That's really what I wanted to show. I will call you this morning. And what's this other one? Hang on. I'll just read this other one. It's hang on. I will call you this morning to follow. I called him, but it won't answer. Call you to follow up on our situation. Now it's completed and all legal formalities on this one-page document to save looking around for the correct files. So I make it easy for the British authorities to identify who we are as native sovereign people of the land, equally sharing online with all information I have put out as our valuable consideration information that can't now be refuted and revisited because the matter is fully disclosed and discovered with no objection or challenge from those who we have accused of the offences as guilty until proven innocent, and of the matter now we have a clear pathway with you, Graham, Aylett, fully transparent in what we are making these court orders and arrest warrants and flag and constitution legitimate, legal and binding on the New Zealand Crown and the British Crown with our Moai Crown Corporation business entity and pound credit debit system of dual UK New Zealand federal state flag government business organisation. Thank you. So there, Andy, that's all I wanted to say, and we can carry on. We've gone through these two constitutions at the bottom in the attachments, so we can have some discussions amongst ourselves, and really the ball's in Aylett's court, and I'm giving him till Wednesday when we'll have another Zoom meeting and expect to get an answer forced out of him, because I'm going to put it together tomorrow and rehear and the contract and dress it up some more and send it to him tomorrow. So he'll get it on Sunday. So he has Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right till 4 o'clock. I've got there in the letter to him, and all the other British people are watching it too to see what he's going to do about what we're saying, that he's obligated as a British citizen or British born man to look after Britain before looking after the United Nations and Jacinda Ardern's business. So really, it's his conscience that's open now. Mine is clear. Yours is clear, Andy. Our conscience is clear which side we're going on. And so it's really in the wind with the government here. They're sitting there making extravagant law without the public and treating it as a powers act of emergency to stick this thing into people and force them to stay out of the way while they pass all their acts is unconstitutional, and that's why we're using these flags and the British flag and our flag and our two constitutions to wrap them out of business. And that's the only way you can dissolve a parliament's sovereignty, is to use the constitution license against them. That's it. You can't get above their law with a court law, because they can overrun the courts, their courts, but not our King's Court. They've got King's Court now, but no King's documents. They haven't got King's documents. They are still riddled with Queen documents. You see, so there, the King has got nothing underneath it. And Aylett should have investigated it for me and answered that question first. He should have said, yes, you're right. They have no substance under their court system in the judge, as using a king versus defendants. And so we're using king too versus defendants, the crown pirates in Parliament, and the landowners who are crooked. All the corporations' business in this country is fraud. Everybody has milked the system because of the government milking it for themselves. And so I've got nothing to say good about corporations. They're going under in this country at least. They're going to have to pay the bill of everything gone wrong for the common people. That's what that constitution says. The common people. Read those red bits. Read the red bits, and it makes real sense about we being the confederation of this country at least, and the rest of the world, with 4 corners of the world with the 8-point star. So, dear Andy, that's enough. It's supposed to be an open court for discussions on this point of where to from here. Anybody got any ideas?
It's a
So
solid it's a solid point that's been clearly pointed out that people need to answer. You know, it's like the R and the Rex, Regina. You know, at the end of the day, you've got in New Zealand they were stating it was the king. It was the king versus. Well, which king is this? What king is this? Explain to me. Give me some substance. When you've not sworn, you've already stated that you're in. You know, you've got the Queen of New Zealand, which is the Queen and Right of New Zealand, which is a corporation on Dun and Bradstreet. You know, so which king is it you're now putting on your documents? The king that you're talking about, John, with the documents to prove where the king came from. So a word, a king, a word, yeah, with substance, versus a word, king, without substance. Where's their substance to make their king? That's all. That's all the simple question is that Graham needed to answer. That's as simple as it gets. You know, I wrote the word king on a document. Where's that king come from? What is it? It's just a capital letter K, capital letter I, capital letter M, capital letter G. But what is it? Where did it come from? Prove it. Let's see the substance. You've made the claim, so just prove it. It wasn't. It's not rocket science, Graham. So I mean, Graham must be looking at that and saying, you know, you're right, John. You're bang on right. You know, because you've got the lineage. I mean, that is Rex, the lion. So there's the line of kings. So where did theirs come from? Came from victory.
Thin air.
Thin air. I said so.
The leeches.
Exactly.
Parasitic. Parasite. Stick to it. Stick like.
Yeah. If I can say that word to you, put it into your head, and it's on a piece of paper now. Now it must be true because it's on a piece of paper. Because that's the whole thing. Those people within these the minions that are working within the government and in the police force, in the courts, they just work off the document. They don't check to see whether the documents have got any true authentication, whether they've got a real beginning, they've got an identity, some substance to them. It's just a piece of paper, and they just go along with what they're doing because they're told to. Order followers. That's it. Just doing what they're told. Told by the illusion. The fictitious. That's as much power as they genuinely have. They have zero. All they have is the power of the illusion. Hypnotic trance that people are all under this lies that they've just been living. And because they all pump those same lies out together and work in unison, never underestimate the power of a group, especially when that group's all lying to you as one. You know, you see exactly what it does, and it takes the people on it, because we've all been led to believe that they have authority, and they don't. They stole it from the people. The people are the authority. So has anybody else got any questions?
I have a question. I'm going to be brave. Hi, John. Over the months I've heard you speak, I haven't been there right from the beginning. No excuses. I was kind of visiting my daughter in hospital 3 times a week. When I was introduced to the King's Bench, absolutely love it. Amazing. You're a wonderful guy in what you're doing, and never give up. And I notice in your tone of voice when you talk, and I love it when you're talking. Some people fall asleep, but I don't. But I love the way you hyphenate those important parts. You go the, like you do a full stop. But you did it earlier on when you were speaking, and I'd like to learn some more knowledge about it. I can't. I'll try and mimic you, but I've written it down because am I correct in thinking they're using lawful laws unlawfully using war acts? Because earlier on you said they're using war acts with a full stop. So are they trying to use that on the reverse with us then? If you could elaborate on that subject a bit more, the war acts they're using.
So it's so it's like this. The Admiralty is the acts of war is to stop anybody interfering between New Zealand and Britain with the flag that the King gave us to protect us against piracy on the high sea. So they're really operating business in the high sea and not on dry land, where this flag is dry land. That's why we don't need a bar and bar association and a dock to put somebody in the court. We can do it in the open anywhere because of that flag and its jurisdiction of the Admiralty that the government is abusing, that mortgage lien and the War Powers Act they use on us as if we're the pirates, and they're abusing the Admiralty law of the Dutch Protestant kings that I've got lined up on the documents. And so they don't have any of that in their system. They have vice admiral, which means that they cling to one of the kings on our side and Queen Victoria, and so they still got to go back to king documents now that they've got Charlie, but they've got no king documents to of a precedent case. They're making it up as they go, like this government here used the king to usurp the king, the real kings, because Charlie has got no admiralty to his name, and he has to use the old Queen Victoria's titles. Here in this country, the government is still using a queen and a Maori chief on their courts and parliament as their seal on their documents, against all our seals on our documents. And you've got to ask yourself, where do they get their authority from for their seal of their corporation company? Nothing. They don't get it from anywhere. They just made the Queen of England is not who they swear their oath to. They don't swear an oath to anybody, so they're not swearing to God Almighty, that where they're supposed to in the Church of England, and the Protestant are still in the Church of England as the rule of law in Westminster. So we've still got our Protestant flag and king ahead of Charlie and his amount of thugs and pirates, see, that are still usurping the king's law that got them on the land in the first place through King William. That Queen Victoria sucked all the goodness out of his work, putting all that together, and turned it on us. They turned the corporation law. The kings made the corporation law for us, and so they switched the king from King Ernest Augustus first, the brother of King William IV, and put Queen Victoria there ahead of the bloodlines, and they legislated him out of Parliament. You see, they legislated him out and legislated Queen Victoria in illegally. So everything the Queen is doing, Queen Victoria, is fraud all the way through. That's why I'm sticking the pound note to liquidate all their business, because that's where they got it from. This King William IV. It was going good. The corporations were working good from King William III, 1689, all the way up to through King George III, King George IV, right to King William IV, the brothers, the two
Right.
brothers, and it's supposed to be the third brother, King Ernest the first, supposed to be the King of Britain, UK, Hanover. And they legislated him out and put Queen Victoria in and made a bodgy story up about King William, saying it's his niece that he put in there. They just bodged up and bodged here in New Zealand with the Treaty of Waitangi and the Declaration of Independence. They bodged everything all the way through. They bodged up the documents. And that's why I took that 1835 Declaration of Independence, split it up into what's a constitution and what's a declaration. You can tell with the black words it's been added to the original constitution founding of New Zealand. If Aylett looks at it as a British patriot and said who found New Zealand, and if he says Jacinda Ardern and them found New Zealand, he will be going against his own bloodlines and his own country principle of Crown Corporation, and he would be a traitor to Britain. That's what I'm drawing out of him before
Yeah.
Wednesday. I'm giving him till Wednesday to pick which side he's going on and force him into the contract. Force him this time, force him. I didn't force him the last time, but now I've got the British Navy with the letters all gone to them and the government, the letters are gone there of what we're doing here.
Awesome.
They're obligated to us in that flag contract. It's still a contract. They're still obligated to protect us and our trade business. And that's all that is. And so if he doesn't do it, he's a bad man. If he doesn't look after his country and look after us as partners in a federal state flag corporation business, the real corporation creators of the law of the sea and of the land, and that flag just determines what's land and what's sea. The British flag is a sea flag. It's not as powerful as this flag. This is the flag the British are using to circumvent the whole world with the Rothschilds. They're using this flag, and this government gets the permission from these stupid Maoris up at Waitangi that gives them consent every year. But they're not the Hapu, the sub-tribes. They're the iwi, the product of the government creating iwi tribes for their business. And so that's why the iwis trustees are the legal landowners. They are not the
Right.
traditional landowners. They are contemporary landowners of professors writing the history. I'm writing our history as traditional, original natives of the land. And so what we do here is going to relay out in England as the natives of England. And you fellas will follow suit. Andy knows what to do. And I don't have to go there. I just do it online like this and set up the courts over there online with Andy as normal business. As normal. We don't have to do any more court hearings now. It's finished. Over there, everywhere in the world. It's done deal. It's finished. It's just
Yeah.
have to liquidate them, the corporates using admiralty law and abusing it for their own self-interest. And that's all it is. Get them off the corporate, and we go corporate with our two
Yeah.
companies. One, we've got a corporate company here registered, and we've got one that's on hold in England, the Moai Powerhouse Group Limited. I set up when I went over there. So we just livened that one. Once we get Cook Street here, we livened that one up, and you're in business straight off with a native title and liquidate the land underneath the Rothschilds and the whole city of London. The whole shot, bang, whole shot one hit, the whole thing, and liquidate the whole business of the Rothschilds with the pound note. That's what we've been doing all along with their photos on Facebook and putting the Rothschild faces there, putting all the Vatican's faces there, the Queen's face there, the Rothschild face there, the Biden face there, Obama's face there, and Hillary Clinton's face. All of their faces are there. And the whole Parliament of New Zealand under Helen Clark there, because she went to the United Nations selling this country out, and the foreshore and seabed, to put all the titles around the world in the United Nations and using us as guinea pigs for their corporate business in the United Nations with the Pope who owns the 193 armies in the United Nations. So there, he's in all that business. A church, a flipping church, is running a
Yeah, I
scam.
know. It's shocking.
Where all the money, the most money is the flipping church, and that's all they went on the land with a Bible, and a bishop, and then the guns followed, and that's how they did it. That's how they did it to
Yeah.
all the all native people in the world on their land and screwed them out. You see, so even Israel is stolen off the Palestinians because
Yeah.
they used
That
this
shocked me
admiralty.
the most this year, to be honest,
Yeah,
when I heard you talk about that.
yeah,
And I totally I was like, oh, I always believed in God and stuff and everything like that. But now
mm,
my faith is back to like my Cherokee belief of the land, which I always kind of knew. But
yeah,
to understand it the way that you say it is that's why I think a lot of people maybe they won't get their heads around that. They're like,
yeah,
no, I've got to cling on to something,
yeah.
it's
So the church,
quite difficult for them.
yeah, so the churches use charities to get around the tax problem, but they still
Yeah.
use the admiralty of the king, Dutch kings, to get mortgages from the bank and loan the money from the bank and the companies that are running their business through the money that you have to buy off the Rothschilds' money and nobody else's money. So now we've
Yeah.
got our own pound note. We've got the original £2 pound note, and we're going to stick it to them. You see, because we've got given the pound note here, and this flipping government legislated the pound note out and made our pound note, our New Zealand dollar, a third of the value of the pound note, and we lost all that. So we're going to get all that back from 67, 1967, when they took our pound note away here and their dollar, and it was a third of the value of the pound note. So we're sticking our pound note to God after all that money and stick it to them in the government. All those losses that they created in this government here, using and abusing the Admiralty. Even the Pope abused the Admiralty law to make all his wealth in the church. The whole flipping lot of them use St. Patrick on that flag. The 8-point star is for picking up the rent on the land leases. Back in 1689, King William III set that up. He set all that up to go around the world in the four corners of the world. And that's
Yeah.
why we ended up with the flag here to hide that Northern Ireland business. We are the sister country of Ireland, Northern Ireland here. It's just a blueprint of that 8-point star and the glorious revolution there. That's what their flag is. The glorious revolution there kicked off all the admiralty to make all the wealth
What
in the
year
world.
was that, John? If you don't mind me asking, what year was
Um,
that happened?
1689 when King William kicked it off, but it was
Right.
in the time of King George V. He wasn't the right king. He blew Ireland apart. He abused it in Ireland, and that's where the trouble was when he got his hands on. He's not in the bloodlines of the Dutch kings of King William IV, and so the bloodlines went all up to hell when that side of the bloodlines got in. You see, so there's nothing to do with churches because they use churches to make people get blinded by churches when it really is law mortgage liens. That's all
Right.
it is. Mortgage liens on the land that the government keeps it for their elite families and nothing for you. You won't win in the Admiralty Court. No one wins in the Admiralty Court except this court. We're testing them out. We are testing the
So the War
commercial.
Act, the War Act I was asking
Yeah,
about,
that's
did they come
that's
before or after the church?
that came out in the UK's Emergency Powers Act came out in 1939. So that's the
Right.
latest Emergency Powers Act They started using it after 1933 when they bankrupted America in 1933
Right, so
from New Zealand. Here. They bankrupted it from here on Mount Eden Hill here. That's where that was done in New Zealand with the Rothschilds here. They hidden their business here. The Queen did all her dirty work here in this country and hid behind this flag. They're sucking off this flag and hiding behind it with their Maori tribe in the government, patented. The Maori tribe is patented by the Little Crown Corporation in Wellington, private to themselves. That's the problem. All the parliaments now have been taken over by the World Economic Forum. So they get us, they get the lot. If they don't get us, it's because we're stopping them with these documents, stopping them in their tracks. If we stop them, it'll stop them doing every other native country in the world.
Yeah.
You see, it'll roll. The house of cards will drop when we get this Cook Street and this little bitch arrested and force Graham Aylett to do it. Force him. I'm forcing his hand because he's not being honest with me and answer his phone like a businessman should. He's not answering the phone. And it's 0800. I put 3 times. I put message on his phone and not replying to me, as important as this is, and not answering to something more important than any other thing in the world. Any other thing in the world. That one-page document he's got, looking at and scratching and wondering what he's going to do. What's he going to do with that one?
So we've got Gene. Gene's got his hand up to speak now. So.
Gene can talk. Yeah. Hi, Gene.
Just unmute yourself.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Yeah. Kia ora. Nice to see you all. Just like to sort of just back up what John's actually saying there. Because there's quite a few points there that sort of work within legislations and acts that are already there and they're already binding. And so the legislation acts, they only bind the Crown. And so we're not Crown. As John's saying with this native title, if you look at landing title, so Admiralty comes to shore and lands and takes title. But what obviously has been presented here is with this native title, because all flags are registered in Holland. So that's through the Dutch royal family. You know, so this is all sort of common knowledge out there as well. So what John's presenting is actually very powerful. When we talk about churches, so churches have come in because they can actually be a place of non-tax and non-rates. Anyone can do that. You can turn your place into a place of worship. And if you do so, then you're not bound by taxes or by rates. Everything's under contract law and everything's corporations. So corp, dead, operation of the dead. So the corporations that's been talked about, the City of London and Queen and Right, it's all binding the Crown. But as John said, what's the illegitimate Crown and the legitimate Crown? So I really take my hat off to you, John. I can see all the work you've done, and I can see how it works into many other facets out there. That it's all part of us not being in enslavement. We can actually look at the Enslavement Act and the Torture Act. Because if we learn how to read legislations and acts and actually learn how to read them properly, they're actually there to protect us if we know how to look into them. So this all lines up, and you might find that your guy you're dealing with, he could possibly be put under the hard thumb. So he could be in quite a tight situation. You're talking about how else do we look at moving this forward? Well, with an independent form of the people have the power. And so with the King's Bench Court, it's like a people's court. So the King's Bench Court is running a court for the people. So, yeah, I really appreciate it, John.
So that's an idea, but there's no time for anything of having who's anymore, because they're going ahead with taking the country up with the United Nations and their legislation. They're listening to themselves and their legislation. And so we're forcing them in their legislation with unconstitutional government. So really the courts here can win against a parliament sovereignty, which supposed to, it's overriding the court system. They've legislated the court out so that they have full power in their under the World Economic Forum of all parliaments in the world are going under that regime of taking over parliament control, like how the Rothschilds took over Westminster and took a hold of the Admiralty law. But now you've got the World Economic Forum in Europe doing the same thing, only worse. They're forcing by using guns and that sort of power with the Admiralty, War Powers Act on anybody who gets in their road with the Admiralty, where they get it from somewhere. They're getting the Admiralty law to enforce that Powers Act, War Powers Act, on anybody interfering with their business. So we're doing the same thing. Interfere with our business, and the British military is supposed to be there for us to protect us in trade between here and Britain. But they've got their military taken off them. The EU has got it now. You see, Liz Truss legislated it out. The same thing again. They legislated it out in Parliament and took the military, the army, the air force, and the navy into the EU control. But it's still there, but it's controlled by EU now. So we use the pound note and these acts here to go and blast them out of the way with it and tell the military over there, look, we'll pay you with the pound note, and tell Aylett, talk to them, talk to Andy, talk to me, but they're not talking to us about a good idea for Britain to pull it out of the doldrums with this flag. It's more powerful than the British law of that flag. It's more powerful because it's a king's flag of Admiralty inherent jurisdiction, if you get your head around that one. You see, so nobody can talk like that if they haven't got any instruments, legal instruments to back it up. You see, only us, it was set here, hidden here, and it was up to us to find out how that works.
So when you went through the court, when you're talking about that back in 2015, was that civil court or was that high court?
That was a civil court and a district court. That was the district, and they said it's a civil matter. They said it's a civil matter, and that's what Aylett will say. It's a civil matter, so that they don't get mixed up in the criminal side of it. See, different courts for different reasons.
Yeah, that's where it really needs to go to the high court, because you can turn a high court into a common law.
Yeah, so we are using the high court. We're using the high court's laws and the Criminal Act through the High Court. That's just blueprinted and cut and paste the High Court and set it out with those Chinese businessmen all in a group that were giving money to the National Party that follow the what's his name and got caught. And so I'm using the group to make Jacinda Ardern and the two landowners and the Governor General in a group, and do the same thing with the same king versus those Chinese, and they lost the case and got fined. And so we're doing the same model, high court. It's a high court. See, it's better than the Supreme Court. It's only like a appellate court. I've gone through it to find which is the best court to go into, because they'll just kick you out if you go into their court and got the wrong format, wrong jurisdiction. So you have to pick the right jurisdiction of court to put your case forward. But we are mirroring the High Court with the courts of justice in Westminster, not in the City of London, in Westminster as the High Court, and the Chief Justice himself of England and Wales, the England native and the Wales native, the original England's titles. You see, it was England and Wales, not Ireland and Scotland. So that's where we've gone in there where the jurisdiction is, with the king can talk in that court. And that's why his photo's in there as one of the 11. And he's got the documents now. he's got the bundle of documents and looking at it too. So it's really going to be, oh, is this good business dealing with New Zealand and that flag, or is it bad business? You see, it's up to them. Why are they in so much trouble in England? It's because Westminster has been taken over and hijacked, the same as this government here has hijacked the People's Court, the People's Government. We own all those documents. That's why I'm waiting for them to say, why are you using High Court papers? It don't belong to you. No, it does belong to us. It don't belong to those governments and the Parliament. It's not theirs. It's ours. They only run the business, and they're foreign. They don't belong here. That's why we're putting them out. They don't belong on the land.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't quite get the comprehension of the High Court and the Civil Court differences. You know, where Civil Court's only administrative court that only deal with the person being the corporation, and the High Court actually can deal with subjects of substance, like what Andrew was talking about before. So I think people get a bit confused sometimes within the way courts are set up, and there's different structures within courts, and they're set up for different purposes. And so that's where, with this court modelled on that High Court aspect, holds supreme ruling over something of substance.
Yeah, it's all the courts are consolidated in the common law court is consolidated in the High Court, so they cover all the common law issues, and they use that hat when it comes to ordinary people challenging the court. They'll use it because it has no commercial value in a common law court. They can't do admiralty court in a common law court. You can't claim any land or claim money. And the difference between one court and the other is how much does the court handle. We're in the trillions. That they don't do that in normal courts. They only go to 200,000. That's it. Or be lucky to get $1 million, like the Indian fellow that I had for an example. He defrauded the Indian government and put the money into England and got caught. See, so I used that model in the magistrate court, and when the magistrate court beat the World Court in The Hague, when they went to take Brexit and take over Westminster, the magistrate court stepped in and stopped them because they have got the original native title in the magistrate court. That's the one I go on, because that magistrate on the ship hopped off the boat and hopped on the land. That was a magistrate. That's why I go as a magistrate, and a high court as the money in the High Court and the admiral in the magistrate court, on the land from Britain, on the land. So you have to have that in the right order. You have to have, where do you get your jurisdiction from? Oh, it comes from that captain on the ship. You see, you follow the ship backwards. And that's what I do, follow the ship backwards. See, if you don't think like that, how the bloody hell would you know how to stick it all together? See, you see?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Hey, one thing, you know, with the navies, so there's got to be correct flag etiquette. And so one thing I've looked at, and I've sort of looked at, and I've sort of contemplated, I want to run it by you. So you've got the he whakaputanga with the black line around to protect us from pirates, but you've got the other one with the white line around it, which is an invitation to commerce to shore, right? Yeah. So is there a time where that white-lined St. George's Cross was never lowered properly to exit Admiralty from shore, and then to bring up the other he whakaputanga with the black line on it, the original title, native title one, to put that back into precedence?
No, one is not a contract and one is a contract. That's the difference between those two. One is a contract with a black line protectorate of the corporate business and the 8-point star. But the Municipalities Act of 1835 is going with this black flag of King William IV protectorate. So that one got no protectorate. It's only got protection in trading around the world and using King William, got the right to use it, but no contract. Kuhuro's got no contract, nothing, absolutely. Nobody's got a contract except that one with the black line. And that's why it flies. up at Waitangi. Otherwise, the other one would have been flying. They can't lower it. They can't lower it down because it's fixed in Westminster Parliament. That's why I'm backdating everything to that date and knock all the Queen stuff out of the way, because that's the crown that I'm looking at, not the Queen's crown. I'm looking at the crown that got them going. And it's still connected to them because it's locked. It's locked. That's why I'm using the flag to lock Graham Aylett, to lock him to it and lock those Navy. The Navy knows, but they won't say nothing until we pipe up. And when they find we know, they'll say, oh, so that's where you were. So we've been waiting for you fellas over there to own up to why you got the flag. Why the king gave you people over here the flag. What for? What did you give the flag for? Why did you change it to a whakaputanga? The king didn't say, go and do that to my flag, my British flag. Don't go and make another flag out of it and copy it and try and put that one into law. The government here is using the whakaputanga, and Ngāpuhi is confused because it's got two whakaputangas, one up north and one in the government. What's that all about? Because they're Maori, that's why. They're Maori. They're sharing the same law, the same Ture Whenua Act, and as Maori. The Ture Whenua Act binds them in that crown in Wellington. You can't get out of it. You can't. That's why I split off and gone out of it, because it's nothing to do with that. That's all mortgage. This is not. The mortgage, no mortgage. You see? You've got to deal with the mortgage.
I've noticed the other whakaputanga they've been dragging around the world trying to use it, right? They've dropped the black line around the top St. George's Cross on the top right. You notice that?
No, I haven't been watching any other people using the flag, and it'll come up in this court. If they are playing around with another flag, it won't feature in the court, in the court. On the land.
Yeah, the black line's been removed.
Yeah, so
you know, like Biden and that.
They cut themselves off from King William IV contract. That's all it is. They still can use it for what they're doing, but they'll have trouble trading with another country. They'll have trouble trying to convince them that they have the right of Westminster to trade all around the world with the 8-point star of St. Patrick. It's not complete. It's incomplete. You see, it's not complete. They have got no instruments to go with their flag. We've got 20 legal instruments to back up that flag.
Yeah.
See,
nice.
You have to have all of that. You have to have all of that. And we've been through all of that with Andy, that it's all over the place now, of the interpretation of the flag before you can claim its use. The government here can't claim that flag, but they're using it anyway. But all their business we take off them. We seize the whole lot of the business because it's our flag they're playing around with. You see, if you play around with somebody's business, you'll end up in court and get it stripped off here. If you are found to be usurping somebody else's contracts, you get into trouble playing around with somebody's contract. We made contracts back in 2008 at One Tree Hill, and all the whakapapa is all up to hell, the whole lot, without the Manukau title and the Manukau Land Title Company, the Manukau Land Company in Scotland, Edinburgh. The Freemasons put that together and made Auckland out of it. See, so that's the whole country. The whole country, one title. Where's anybody who got one title? Nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's what we use to trade around the world. We're going straight around the business now. No muck around now. No more talking. We're going straight out into the ocean and won't sink. We won't sink because it's set up. We set this thing up in 2008. It's taken a long time convincing us. We just went in out the other year and told me to sit down and shut up. That's all I got from there. That's why I got no confidence, because they got no business acumen. No business acumen. That's it. They can't do anything with the whakamiminga because I can't see anybody putting it together. All one piece. One whole piece. They're still in contract with the government. They have to break the contract there first. Go into that scenario. And they go to the United Nations. First thing they'll say, where's your documents with the native title? And they, nothing. Absolutely nothing. No grounding. They can't use Alfred Mitchell's titles. He's all his documents because they all got Queen on it. It's all got Queen sealed with a Maori chief. And that belongs to the government of Wellington. It's their patent. That's the problem with it. The incorporations. We got cooperatives. We've got a cooperative government system of a federal government over the top of all the other federal, even over the top of the American federal government, because they're using our flag for Cook Islands. Biden just grabbed it because Jacinda gave it to him. And so that's another violation of international flag law. This government here is violating international flag law. The British found this place first, not them. They just made it up out of their head in 1840, and they used that flag to step up to 1840 by making the original constitution that the king gave a license to run your own country. That's what he said. You're a sovereign nation state. And here's the flag, and here's the constitution. And this lot here bodied it up and changed it into another contract. You see? So you've got the 1831 contract. The letter is a contract. When you utter something and say, well, can you give us a flag? And he says, yeah, pick one. And it took 3 years or so to pick a flag in 1834. So that's the second contract that those few chiefs signed. That's number 2 contract. And then these other Maoris said to those Maoris that signed the second contract, oh, sign another one. There was no need to sign another contract because the king finished it off. It was the end of it in 1834. See? And so the flag was useful in 1834 before 1835. See? So when they made the 1835 declaration, that was the 3rd contract. And then they made that make an 1840 contract. That's the 4th contract with more people added to it. More people. It's all void. It was all void because the first contract overtakes the whole lot. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Overtaking all those contracts, if you know contract law. First in law.
First in time, first in law.
Yeah. So there. That explains that part. And I'm only interested in the commercial bits now and the business of putting things in place. When the British say, what are you going to do with all that money? We're going to do this, bang, look, all these tidal turbines right through the whole world. And that will bring in more for Britain, bring in more for here, bring in more for everything. You see, so that's just one big project. That's going to say, oh, that's where it's all going. See, and the shareholders are going to do very well out in Britain and here. The new system where there's no fraud. That's what we're doing here. No more fraud. No more. We're putting a sock in it now. No more fraud. This is how you get no more fraud. But the Pope and the World Economic Forum is trying to hide all their fraud and bring out a new law out there in space. The Pope said, I've got control of all the earth now. I'm going to get my new laws out there. You see? So that's his new way of doing things. But the EU got their own ideas. So they're going up against Putin at the moment. So it's a struggle with the powers, and Putin doesn't use their admiralty. He's got his own admiralty, and China's got their own admiralty. So they don't care about our admiralty. You see, they've got their own power system. So we're up against that lot, and so we're only a little fish, but we're holding on to the key. We're holding the key. See, so we just have to find good people like yourself to get in behind us and push the issue of just what I'm saying, and Andy understands, I think you've got a better understanding than a lot of people I've come across. They just don't get it. They just don't get it. At least the people that have been with me since we've been together.
It's quite hard though, John, because people have been programmed and socially conditioned for so, and the system has complicated everything. And this overriding aspect with corporations that you talk about.
Yeah.
And it is operation of the corp, and people don't realise that we're seen as chattel, as just dead entities. Treating us and tricking us for eons, right?
Yep.
So it is very hard for a lot of people to get their head around and see that we do have freedom and we are all kings in our own right, and we can talk the king talk because we are the living being and we're not the dead entity, and that's a very hard transition for people to get their heads around. I've noticed that trying to educate people through this for quite a while, and people are so bound by that cognitive dissonance, that social contract and social programming.
Yeah. So it's hard to get to the masses and tell a lot of people in webinar or something of a sort of platform to let a lot more people know. And even my Facebook is restricted. Not many people can see it. You see, so I've been barred 90 days from getting a full exposure and restricted to audience. So there, it's unfortunate that nobody can see much. Only on Twitter, they can see things on Twitter, but I haven't got time to push all this lot through and find a good platform. I'm just waiting for Cook Street. Then I'll get our own TV station, our own media straight up, and get the whole thing around the world one shot. Once I get Cook Street, that's it. It's everything is on the move, and we can get everything we need from liquidating criminals. That's the whole name of the game: criminal liquidation of their property. You see, so there. I'm pushing that issue as a mortgage broker, bank broker. That's what I used to do: mortgage broking and refinancing and all that sort of thing. So there, that's just another angle to go around. But the people who don't understand it has found that it's too hard a subject without going into it to know, like especially the families that have to go to a family court. It's frustrating to them to go and have to face a judge and put their kids right in the firing line of courts that take them away, and they don't know what to do, and some of them really go to the pack. I feel sorry for all those people that have split up their families, and the system is not worried about that. That they just want to spin over the money in the court system. And the longer they leave a case going, see, in my case with Cook Street, it was over 9 months on bail, over 9 months, and they accumulated all that money from the birth certificate and spun it over to pay themselves handsomely out of it, and then to find that was all for nothing, all for nothing. The court case was squashed, all for nothing, but they made a lot of money out of it, out of me. You see, so that's another problem that people are very difficult to educate people like yourself, telling people a way to do it. I knew Bill Turner. Bill Turner has been an original Confederation of Chiefs. He was the original one with me, and so he's pulled away from it now and doing his own webinars and things like that. But he still started off with us and the old fellow Mo'i Manukau. We used to have our meetings together, and I used to go to his workshop in Manukau City and go and see him just to keep in touch with him from what I was doing with Mo'i Manukau. So the Turner families are up in up north with the original sealers and whalers and the boats and all that. So the Turner family is up there very much in all this sort of thing going on. You see, but he he fell out of favour with the whole Confederation. Went one way and split up, went this way, that way, and everywhere. So Mohi says, "You come with me. Don't mind about those. You come to Helensville. No mind about going to Del Wihongi's place in Mangui. You come and meet him. We do it over here." And so that's when he broke them, and the whole thing fell apart. The whole Confederation fell apart, and people started to do their own Confederation, like Dan Davis. And Dan Davis, he's on that lone block at Helensville overall. He's one of the owners. So there's only 5 of them, and so they've kept that court. That's good of them to have kept it. So it gives us authority where everything started from in Auckland. The bill Auckland came out there, and splitting all the land blocks from big blocks into smaller blocks was done there. The model was done there. And so I've got all those titles there, how they did it, how they split the lands up there. So that's just something behind everything else that we just go for it. We just go for it, and they can pick up, and people can pick up, but we have to keep forging in with this idea that Aylett will do. See, his profession has to pick up. I haven't done his job yet. I'll end up doing his job yet, and in our own court system, get my head around his business, and his thing is not as hard as this lot. It's not as hard as this lot. Knowing everything, every single thing, is he only deals in investigations and seizures. That's all he can do. He can't do what I do. No way. I can do what he does if I put my head to it. You see? So I'm not about to do that. I think I've had enough of all this and just want a bit of a spell. Give it to someone else, like you.
Yeah,
Give a young fella to take over and pick up and push the thing, so that everybody is waiting for us. They're waiting for us in England. That's why Andy can't wait for Aylett to open his mouth and say something. He says, "Have you rang him yet? Have you rang him?"
Yes,
Yeah,
Andrew.
no, I haven't rang him yet.
We're waiting for you. We're doing our best here. No, we are. We are in a way, but yes, Andrew, please speak.
Yeah.
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 Graham.
Yeah.
Come on, Graham. Graham, man up, please, brother. I think. Do the conscionable thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So he'll be listening to this because
I
I'm
don't
sending it
mean
to
to
him.
put a downer on it, but my daughter, who's been in care like 10 years, I won't go into the ins and outs, and she hasn't eaten for, it's about coming up to a year and a half, any solid foods. And anything I said to her, she just wouldn't respond. And when I spoke to her that I was coming to the King's Bench and explaining the understandings that I was learning, obviously much to learn, she was very interested about Putin and what will happen this year. And she asked me as a 15-year-old, which I would like to ask you, it's a dampener of a question. She was like, "Well, Mum, it doesn't matter about Putin because I've already decided that I know how to bake bread and I'm going to go into the wilderness. And what I'm going to do is take a space in the woods and I'm going to cook bread for everyone as long as they protect me." And so she's going to go and bake bread in the woods. And her worst fear is, I said, "Kelly, it's not going to be that dangerous because we've seen world wars through. We'll see this through. We are the adults." And she said, "But what will Putin do if we lose the King's Bench? What would be the worst we could possibly face in England, do you think, if he does, when this person, this who you was talking about earlier, totally ignores you and it goes into Putin winning?" Because my brother texted me before work this morning, like 5 a.m. and said, "Oh, word on the street is Putin's got cancer." I said, "What, the brain or the mouth?" Because they're all panicking in the middle of London, like what may come, what may not come. So what would we expect from him if they win? If the Maori courts win and the English corrupt courts win, what would be the worst we would expect to happen? Like to ration our food or, like etc. like that?
John's explained that, hasn't he? I mean, that's what the New World Order is. That's what the WEF is. So what? Oh, everyone's going to get injected. They're going to do whatever they want, aren't they? You know, this is what it really comes down to. If the Georgia Guidestones had anything to tell anybody, you know, they told you very clearly that they wanted to depopulate the planet by 95%, don't they? They wanted to 500 million and kept it that at a constant pace. So that's what the outcome is if they is, you know, existent, and this is what they're actually doing. So that's what they've already told you what they want to do. But the point is, it doesn't necessarily matter about Graham. I mean, if Graham doesn't turn up and hold up his hand to it, there's sort of, isn't there? He's not the only private investigator out there. He's not the only man out there that can step up for the job. And it's not just necessarily, I mean, the people themselves may decide to do it in unison.
I think they will, to be honest. Don't underestimate us. Yeah.
We've also got quite a powerful ally here in New Zealand. We've got the NZ lawyers speaking out with science. So NZ's they're quite powerful. There's a couple of lawyers in there that are starting to dig quite deep into this. So they're starting to do their own investigations. So I've been sort of explaining a little bit more about this to them and just trying to get my head right and speak it correctly and simplistically. We don't necessarily have to worry about that because it seems like, you know, this guy Graham is obviously, you know, sort of slowed down on whatever's happened, who knows. But if we, the people, we can actually step up. There's quite a big group of people coming together now as an independent platform, like an alignment of the people and people's courts that we're looking at establishing at the moment. So this all works into alignment with the King's Bench Court. So I think we can easily sit there and think about all the negative things that may happen, but that's, you know, just we can't put our energy there. We've got to put our energy into the positives.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put a dampener on that, but I'm just asking for my daughter, really, because, you know, she's 15 and she's very interested in what we're talking about, you know, so I just had to put a dampener on that for a second or two. So thank you for your answer. Thank you.
Yeah, so really, the young people are looking for leaders. They are looking for leaders and role models, and they can't see any because they're all following the leader of the parliament, knows everything and knows, and so they go along with the student loans and everything the government dishes out to get votes to keep them going. And so the poor young people are looking at things crashing around them and doom and gloom because the parliament sovereignty is the highest law in the land and not the courts. And the courts are fighting back, the courts, because you've got the Attorney General. He's for the Crown Court of the Crown's big business with the Rothschilds, and you've got the solicitors who look after the lawyers, you see. So you've got those two we're up against. I've gone and jammed them up. I've jammed them up. Two of them, and the Parliament and Jacinda, jammed them up from moving in front of us while we're doing business with Britain, you see. So,
Yeah.
so there, some hope for your daughter is that she's waiting for the new system of our king.
Yes.
Charlie's family is not looking like good role models. It's all fraud. It's all falling apart with Andrew and Charlie. And Charlie are not liked very much. And with William having a fight with Harry and Meghan, and that's bad leadership or bad role models for people living, young people looking at them and thinking, what the hell's wrong with you people? And why is they in trouble? Why are they behaving badly and letting the EU take over our country and leave us with nothing and own nothing and be happy? How am I going to be happy in the new World Economic Forum system that's taken over the military of Britain? It's gone. There's no more protection for you. There's nothing to protect you anymore because you've got an immigrant prime minister. He's not one of you. He's just put there with their own system of private corporations, stuck them there because that's the way they do business. It's all about business and making money out of people and their misery. So there, I don't like to see your daughter being miserable in England because my two daughters are over there and they're only young. And so they're having a hard time keeping them up with the rent and all the increase in food and imminent blocking from going into one area, 6 areas divided so you can't just trap across into another area without getting fined. All those things are in your system, not here yet. Not here yet, not likely to be when we've got something to do with it.
Yeah.
This British flag. We've got a British flag that's more powerful than your flag. You see, it's more powerful because it's the king that made those admiralty laws to make all the wealth out of mortgage lands over people's land and make money out of it. This is the Municipal Corporations Act of 1689 right up to 1835, the Corporations Act of that flag. It's got plenty of things in it that the British are still using this flag. That's why they keep trying it over here with their flag. You see, so it's all about kings now, no more queens. It's king talk, and nobody's got any documents. They haven't been prepared for a king. They thought the queen was going to live forever. You see, and so they're still stuck with queen in their head. Queen this and queen that. Even in New Zealand, these Maoris over here still got queen in their head. They won't let go. They want their Treaty of Waitangi honoured, and they're not honouring anything. These corporations don't care. They said, we'll make a treaty with you at 1% of what we stole, and you accept it. If you don't, tough, you get nothing. See, so that's the way your people from Britain has treated us with their offsprings from Australia, convicts of Australia running this government over here. The New South Wales government is convicts, escaped convicts from Sydney over here and running this government. And that's what we want to boot off out. When we boot it off, we go and do the same thing with England and boot them off. And boot those people they put in there in Parliament that you didn't vote.
Absolutely,
Vote. You see?
Mm-hmm.
What goes around comes around.
We have another hand up, Oppo R15. If you want to, you can unmute yourself. You've got something to say. You're muted, by the way. You've got your hand up, but you're muted. If you want to unmute yourself. Yep, you're on mute. I still unmute. You've got your hand up. I'm asking you to unmute. There you go. Okay, you can speak now.
Yes. Yeah. Just say hello to everybody. My name is Dennis Conroy, and I've just been confused about the Confederated 8-pointed star, Confederated chief flag. Does that turn into a, what's this? I don't trust.
You're breaking up there. You can't really hear you there.
Can I be heard?
I can hear you now. Try that now. Try that.
Yeah. The pointed star, the Confederated Chiefs flag star, how does that change? How do people change that into a He Whakaputanga flag? I just don't know how that happens. What's the sequence?
You can't change it into a Whakaputanga flag because it's not in the British Westminster system. The King gave the flag as a confederation on the Declaration of Independence, says clearly Confederation, and they didn't change it. If you change it, it nullifies everything. If you change and put Whakaputanga there, because it's not the same flag. it's a copy of it in your own head. That didn't come out in 1835. A whakaputanga was not featured in 1835. It was written that way. They wrote up the history that way, and they can't go to England with a whakaputanga and go to the United Nations with a whakaputanga, because they'll ask the first thing, where did you get that name from? Who registered that name? Where? And that's your problem. And where's your native title to go with a whakaputanga flag? Where is it? And who's the chief that signed with King William as a whakaputanga flag? And you're in trouble with the corporation law if you start dicking around with the flag from now on, because we're using it for corporation business. There's nothing, and I've been with the whakaputanga for a long time, with the whakamininga, for years. I've been there at Waitangi all the way through, and I threw it away because it doesn't have any legal in it. That's what the lawyer said to me. The Maori lawyer, Charles Hirschfeld, said, John, you're wasting your time. It's got no legal in it.
So what I hear is a lot of people saying he whakaputanga flag. So really they just don't know what they're talking about, and it's a fraud.
Yeah, it is a fraud, but they know what they're talking about, but that's all they're being passed down. That's what they're being passed down through the Waitangi Tribunal. They believe everything the Waitangi Tribunal and their professors wrote it up, not the native Maoris didn't write it. They've got that fella, Henry, writing the whakaputanga and change it. He changed it again. That fella, that Maori fella, what's his name? He changed the whakaputanga to take it to the United Nations as a whakaputanga. And he'll get on the block over there. They'll just find out over there that there's no history of timeline of events to Westminster with a whakaputanga. It only started with them up north. It didn't go anywhere but north. You see?
So if people mention he whakaputanga, it's just a fraud. It's just a thought in their own minds.
Yes. It's a fraud that the government is playing around with it too. They're using the whakaputanga because it's in the Waitangi Tribunal, written up that way. That's why I split it up. I split the Waitangi Tribunal and put the Maori on one side and the native on the other side. And you can see the snapshot clearly that Queen Victoria saying one thing, saying there's a whakaputanga in Maori and whakamininga, and on the snapshot of the native, there's only chiefs and confederation. So that fixed that problem up. And now with the confederation and the Declaration of Independence, and it as looking like a constitution, it's gone and split that one up as well. So nobody's coming into the court to challenge it. So it must be right.
He whakamininga is that kind of similar. People mention it, it's only in their minds and it's not legal.
It's something that the whakamininga is a Maori government, a Maori government that was put together with the
Queen Victoria
Tribunal, with the claims, and they wrote it up that way as if it was back at 1835 on the documents, which is false. All the history has been fabricated by the government, not by the ones up north, by the government that made the Waitangi Tribunal report and said you can't go back before 1840, and you can only go. That's why they turned Mohi Manukau's treaty claim down, Y121, because he went back beyond 1840. So they squashed his claims. I thought, right, I'll fix you up. I'll do our own. I'll do our own claim and stick it to you. That's what I'm doing. I'm sticking the Manukau Land Company in Scotland to the government, and they can't do anything about it because the Scottish Freemasons put all the certificates together in this whole country.
Yes. What if the hapu was to talk to the Confederated Chiefs about anything? What would you call that event?
It's a switch completely over out of that system. When this one gets off the ground, it has to prove itself first with this debt collector. Once you get one title of land, poof, the whole lot falls over. The whole lot,
Yeah.
one shot back, gone.
Is
And
there an
one-
upper
one
and lower
time.
house?
Eh?
Is there upper and lower house for the Confederated chiefs? Or?
Yeah, the British government. They're our partners with two flags flying. That's it. We're using the federal state flag. That flag is a federal state republic flag of New Zealand and Britain. It's a federal government for Britain. Though I'm waiting for them to pick it up, and we're partners with their government already, with the military.
And the
No
yeah,
need
and
to
the
make a government. No need to make a government.
and the
It's there.
natives
It's
of the and the natives of the hapu can come in and talk to the King Bench Court on any matters.
They have to get used to the idea of a King's Bench Court because they've got a king in England, Westminster now, and they're using the king as the courts in the High Court here versus defendants. They're using the king, not the queen, but the incorporations and Ngāpuhi and Whakamininga are still using a queen and a Maori chief as their.
Yes,
their
that's more clear now. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
more
that's
clear
the
understanding
problem.
to me. Yeah.
That they're locked
Mm.
in that contract with the government because they're talking to each other. We don't talk to the government. We just give them a bill and a death penalty, a possible death penalty for what they're doing to
Yeah.
us.
Hmm.
See? So that's the way we talk in this court. It's extreme what they're doing to us and our safety and our future of our kids. They're destroying us.
Yes.
See? And
I've just got a.
and the yeah.
I've just got another matter to raise. I guess it's in America. They're taking a while to nominate a speaker. Are they doing it deliberately for a 90-day non-governing thing, which they've used in the past to restart? I don't know, whatever they've done that in the past in America.
They're doing it. They're doing it because they're ushering in a new world government, and they're using us as guinea pigs here, hoping that they can take all the native countries in the world out. That's why they had that meeting over here, the corridor, the Constitution corridor, to make a new constitution and take it to the United Nations so they can use that for a model for all the other native countries and take them over and their governments and all of that in one shot. So we're doing one shot over them as guinea pigs, not us.
Yeah, thanks for that, John.
It's just law versus law.
Yeah.
You see, we're sticking to the law of the High Court of New Zealand and the Crimes Act 1961 to plug them into the Crimes Court in this on live without moving. We're not
No, thanks for that.
dead. We are very much alive. But no more court hearings are finished. No more. It's business. It's corporate business now. No more court hearings. Finished. We had enough. We got 37 court hearings under our belt with affidavits on each video and each document as evidence on each one's head. Jacinda Ardern's got all this 37 weeks on her head and me, one on one. She puts her documents in front of me. I drop these ones in front of her, and it's me and her. Just me and her, nobody else. Just one on one. That's what the Pope said. Pope said, you're on your own.
Yes, I heard that.
And
thanks for that, John.
You get one. We only need to get one of the pirates, and the rest will house.
And you get the full,
Yeah, and so the hapus can get their power back from the iwi because we got their photos in on their squad as they're going to get liquidated out of business off the flipping land, and the hapu can take back over.
Okay. Thanks for that.
That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea of this court. It's a hapu-driven court because I've kept that as being, I'll go to Waitangi when I get it over the line.
Yeah.
With our little crew of 5. It's 5 people in this group to hold of everything. You don't need lots of people. You only need ones to pass it from here to those four people, and pass it over so they can pass it to someone else, so that I can get out of the way and leave the whole blooming lot to everybody, so I can have a bit of a rest.
I know you've been working hard, and I've known that they've been hard against you when they poisoned you too. It's terrible.
That was a bird work. When I went to Blair, England, I was
policeman.
big
He tricked.
disaster. Yeah.
It was disgusting.
I went through hell. My brother got me out of Middlemore. Otherwise, I would have been still there now. Like John Patterson, and we were on the right track. And I gave him the documents to take to the Navy because he's in the Navy. And so the police arrested him after they cleared him from the court, and then they picked him up, and now he's still incarcerated in the mental home. That's where they wanted him and me out of the way.
Same time.
I've been lucky. I've been very lucky.
Yes, I was hoping that they could reach you when you were in there, because it was quite difficult. Some people were trying to get there, but they wouldn't allow them to get through to you while you were in the hospital.
I'm locked up in the back where nobody can get to. They screen everybody that goes in, and I couldn't. It's like a prison. You're stuck there. And they're going to pay for all of that. All the people will get what I'm going to get out of all of that. All of them. They put all their names on the court list, and all the people on Cook Street, all that, they put all the names there against me. Now I'm using all their names against me. There's heaps of what Andy knows what they did to me, because he was my biggest support at the time I was in the hospital. They took my computer, my laptop and everything, my hard disk off me in the hospital. Took the whole bloody lot.
Stole it,
And your court case to they held you back, and then they made the decision while you weren't there, and they said that because you wasn't there, you weren't there to attend, but you were waiting outside. It's bloody shocking.
All of that. But
use every trick
that's why I say that gives us an excuse to have this court, because that one failed me. The court system failed me, and it gave us the opportunity to have our own court and do our own thing, because the system is not there for me or anybody.
Exactly.
So it's just about there, just a bit more, and we should be on our way.
Thanks for that, John.
Okay, no trouble.
That's good. Hey, I'm going to have to say good night.
How,
I'm going to
how
go sort my boy
do
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Gene.
Okay, Gene. Thanks, mate.
Take care, Gene. Speak soon.
Oh, bless you now. Bless you now. Hey, yeah.
Your internet is.
You sound like a robot. You sound like a robot.
We can't make a word out of what you're saying. Your internet connection's not very good at all. Don't know if you want to try to speak again.
You sound like you're on Mars.
Yeah. Well, this Dennis here, how do I mute my microphone? I don't know.
No, it was just breaking up again. That's what it was. It was just breaking up your internet connections. The bandwidth's not very good.
No, I'm on a phone. No, that's all I've got to ask.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. We'll meet again, because we're on a roll now, and we all the talking is finished. We're just in business now.
Yeah.
Expect to see a result. Expect to see a
result.
Well,
that's good.
Absolutely. Is there anybody else that wants anything to say? Because I mean, I will round it up in a minute, because I've got to take the wife out. So Does anybody else have anything to say? I know Blair, did you want to have a word? Are you there on holiday? Are you? You out camping?
He sounds like he's on Mars and having a good time.
No, that wasn't. No, I was asking Blair. Yeah.
I want a one-way ticket there.
Our main man is like a gremlin.
Any planet will do. I don't mind which one. Just a one-way ticket there will do me.
Yeah, Karen. So there, that we hope we have some good news before long. It's supposed to be this week and next week.
It's always good news. It is always good news when we all talk. That's the only way I see it. But it's always good news.
It's in the laps of the guy. I mean, at the end of the day, the timing, no one can tell the time. Like I say, I mean, we don't know. I mean, Graham could be genuinely ill. He could be anything, you know. So we don't know anything. That's why I say no news is good news, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's just let's all you know, consciously make that request for the right thing to be done, and for everybody to stand up and hold you know, do their duty.
Yeah.
Hold, the people that are doing the wrong accountable. That's all
Yeah.
we're grateful. So on that note, then I think everyone's. I don't think there's any other questions.
No question from me.
God bless you then. But nobody else, Blair, Charlene, Kate?
All good.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Then. On that note, John,
We'll see you all later.
Yeah. Good. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Happy birthday to Heather, Andrew.
Thank you, darling. God bless all.
Good night. All right.
Good
Bye.
Good
morning, good
Bye.
afternoon, good. Kali Kalimera, Kalispera, Kali.
Have a good day.
Ciao, ciao.